Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sideline to Speedway. Here, I am Mekhi Winfrey, joined by Park and Merrey. As always, we are on episode 9 of the Motorsports side of things. It is championship week on the NASCAR side. F1, their season also continues to unravel. We only have 4 races left on that side of the scale, I guess, is the right terminology there. But before we get into anything from reviewing from the past weekend or anything coming up, I want to ask you, Parker. Have you enjoyed the season of motorsports we have watched this year in 2025?
I have in the first half of the NASCAR season, I was not very intrigued. The racing was not great, but as the playoffs have progressed, as the second half of the season has rolled along, the racing has delivered. We've gotten some fantastic races in both NASCAR and F1. We're seeing a three-way title fight in Formula One. Everything is great, and I must also note a bit of a scenery change for today's episode. I see you're in a slightly
Oh,
different scenery. And actually, it's a little bittersweet because as cool as the house looks, there is a severe lack of the
food.
iconic snack shelf.
Yeah, I know. The
I'm kind of missing it, not gonna lie.
missing the food this week, but you know what? It's all right. We'll be back with the normal scenery next week. Obviously, I'm home for the weekend. I have my own race this weekend. That's why I'm home looking to win a state championship, so that'll be fun. But not about me this week. It is about, of course, what goes on as usual on this podcast, which is NASCAR and Formula One. We'll start with NASCAR here, as we always do. Martinsville had okay. I said it'd be an eventful would happen. We got the opposite of that. Nothing eventful happened. Except for the winner, of course, that's eventful. We'll get to that in a split second. But overall, I wanted to ask you what you thought of that Martinsville fall race.
I enjoyed it, honestly. I really did. I thought it was. I don't think it was quite as good as last year, just because last year had more moments. It had more late race drama, whereas this year you kind of had there was more. You had the dominant cars of Byron and Blaney. You didn't really have. Whereas last year there was parity all over, and you had a multi-car battle at the end. This year, though, there was just a few cars that were way ahead of the rest of the field. Byron, Blaney, and then at some point you'd have an Elliott or a Logano or a Hamlin. At one point, Priest looked fast, but ultimately the 24 and the 12 were the top two for most of the final stage. And they ended up bowing it out at the ends. Blaney went on one strategy, Byron went on the other. Blaney knew that if he was going to beat Byron, he needed to stay out. Or basically what he did is he pitted at the end of stage two. So that way, when stage two ended, basically he pitted 5 laps before stage two ended, jumped the field, got the lead. Byron was back in sixth, like seventh or eighth, something like that. And then he, made his way back up to the lead, got around Blaney with about 50 to go. And I have to ask you, you being a Blaney fan, how do you feel about the move for the weekend?
It's a double-edged sword, right? Well, I think of it this way. I think of a couple, or was it last year? I think of last year. Blaney, to be fair, um, moved. I think he actually moved Byron. Funny enough, but
Yeah, I think he moved Elliott and
no, I
Larson.
think he moved Byron as well. I think earlier in that race. So I think he moved all 3 of those Hendrick cars. So
Oh my gosh.
um, yeah, well, that one I remember there was more external reasons to that, but um, yeah, I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. I'm not upset about it. Honestly, I think it's Martinsville racing. That's kind of the racing I like to see in Martinsville. It's supposed to be bump, move each other, run. That's how you're supposed to race at that racetrack. It stinks that Blaney never really got an opportunity to get back to him because I think if he did, we would have seen more contact. But that's not what we got. We got to see Byron kind of run away and hide for the remainder of that race. I mean, we did have a late yellow, but it wasn't enough for Blaney to be able to do anything there. The result was kind of sealed once Byron took the clear lead off the restart. So, um, all things considered, though, I'm not upset about Blaney's year. I think he proved overall that he is capable of putting a full season together. Like many people, for some reason, I don't know why, had doubted like he couldn't do, but he did it this year. Even though he won't get the race for a championship, I think he proved a lot of people wrong this year. As for Byron, the winner, obviously he's going on to Phoenix this coming weekend. He looks to win his first championship. He's got a third opportunity at it. Everyone likes to say third time's the charm. Denny Hamlin likes to say 12 times the charm. I don't know how many times it is. I'm just busting his balls. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll see. Byron's got a chance. And then obviously we got to talk about, you mentioned him earlier because he got moved last year. Kyle Larson also puts himself into the Final Four. He just ran better than Christopher Bell all day, it seemed, right?
Yeah, honestly, I really thought that this would have been Christopher Bell's day to outpoint Larson. Now, if we look back to my predictions from last week and look back at the visions that both you and I had, one of our visions came true, and that would be my vision of Byron winning. But there was a vision that I got wrong. I had Bell pointing his way in over Larson. That is obviously not what happened. Larson was just quicker for most of the race, which is not. I feel like you when you think of Kyle Larson at Martinsville, you don't think of him as a guy that's going to go in and have a fantastic car. But in the next gen era, he's honestly been delivering at Martinsville. I think we need to start putting more respect on his name at these short tracks because he's been great at them. When he had another good race at Martinsville, he didn't quite get as high of a finish as he could have due to some late race strategy. There was a poorly timed yellow with the whole. I don't. Was it Hocevar that spun in the middle of the pit
There's a
cycles?
whole. Well, we'll get to that a little bit, but there was
Yeah,
a whole.
it
Yeah,
was a whole mess, and NASCAR waited to throw the yellow, and a bunch of people got trapped a lap down, and so that kind of shook up the race. But Byron and Blaney were fortunate enough to already be on the lead lap, so that allowed them to even break away further. There was a quality to William Byron's race car that I noticed. I don't know if you noticed it as well. He had incredible entrance speed. He didn't really have it in the middle or off exit, but the entrance speed allowed him to get to the inside of Ryan Blaney and make the move without wrecking him. Now, I think the move to me was a little bit 50-50 because Blaney crowded Byron, as he should. You're racing for the win at Martinsville, and Byron dove it into the corner and moved up the track, which racing for the win at Martinsville, racing for a Final Four spot, you should do. So for me, I liked the move from both guys. I think they both did what they should have. It's Martinsville racing. And back to the quality of that Byron's car had of really good entrance speed, it allowed him to pull away. Blaney could never get close enough on entrance to repay the favor.
I think, and it's weird too, because when we watch, I mean, we're both fans of Penske drivers, so we would know better than most. But Penske cars typically are actually better on entry than exit, which is very interesting to me that we saw a reverse at Martinsville. They were definitely better on exit speed, but just did not have enough to be able to catch up to the 24. And also, I think if you're going to talk about that move, you do have to acknowledge the fact they were lapping the 10 of Ty Dillon, I'm pretty sure. Um, and he just, I mean, he was trying to be out of the way, but in that situation, it's not an easy thing to do. So I think part of the reason Blaney had to crowd him too, and they were that low on the track, is just because there was a lap car on his outside. So just a bad position to be in if you're the 12. But I think they got out of that about as clean as you could have, without completely wrecking the other driver. So hats off to both drivers. They ran a great race. Byron stands tall as the victor. I want to cover, I mean, we talked about Blaney, obviously. We talked about Bell, who just didn't really have the speed. I really quickly want to hit on the other two guys that we eliminated this past week. Joey Logano, I'll start with him. His is a little bit quicker. I mean, look, he was the guy everybody already had out, right? Like, we walked into this round, and everyone was like, it's 7 drivers and Joey Logano. That was kind of the mantra everyone had, unless he would win. And he didn't win. And, well, the points show exactly what people were thinking. He wasn't actually as far off as people maybe thought he would be, but overall, Logano just didn't have the speed at any real point in this round to go and win the race and then go into the Final Four. Even at Talladega, which was a little interesting to me, he was fast, of course, he always is fast there, but he didn't have that same like dominant Daytona speed that we would see out of him, which is a little interesting. Um, I don't I think he was that's a different debate, whatever. But my point being, in the two other races this round, didn't have the speed to go out there and compete. So that is his demise. And then there's the 9 of Chase Elliott, who I had winning this weekend. I actually thought he had the third best car behind those front two. I think he probably, if they weren't so good, so much better, I think Chase Elliott actually probably would have won this race. But obviously that's not what happened. Um, yeah, I mean, for Chase Elliott, it's just another season of just being the third Hendrick car, it feels like, right?
Yeah. So for Logano, I actually kind of disagree with you. I think they had really good speed at Talladega, and I also think they had a really good car at Martinsville. They were actually, I bet if you looked at those speed charts, I bet they had the third fastest car at Martinsville. As crazy as it sounds, I think they had the third best car. On the longest green flag run that we had before the pit cycles got shaken up, he moved all the way up to second. I believe it was second, or I think Hamlin might have been second. So maybe he was the fourth fastest behind Hamlin, Byron, and Blaney. But he was top 5 all day. And then when the pit cycles hit, when we had the strategy at the end of stage two and then the caution during the pit cycle stage three, that just completely derailed his race and he got trapped a lap down. And that was kind of it. I think before that, he actually stood a pretty good chance at potentially winning that race if he was kind of able to keep himself in the game up in the top five. But it just didn't really work out for him with some of the way some of the cautions fell. And I don't think he had quite the pace of the 24 or the 12. He would have needed to have a couple really good restarts at the end. And then for Elliott, he again also had good pace. A little bit underwhelming though. I expected a little more from him. Um, he set a high bar at Martinsville, and he kind of didn't really deliver. The car was not as good as the 24 or the 12 throughout most of the race, and it never really felt like he had a chance at the win. There was a couple points where he got up to like second or third, but again, similar to Logano, got kind of caught out on that caution flag in the pit sequence. I mean that killed so many drivers' races because the only two cars that were on the lead lap were Byron and Blaney. So that kind of ended up being those two's demise.
Yeah, I mean, overall, at the end of the day, Chase Elliott was just not as quick as those cars. Logano, not as quick as those cars. And we all knew going into the weekend the 12 would be fast. We all knew going into the weekend the 24 would be fast. They'd been fast all around. And they had been fast all season, so they were arguably the two best drivers all year. They were the two people you're going to have to beat, and nobody really below the cut line showed up to beat them. So that's what ended up happening there. But we have our final four. It's set. We'll go a little more preview in a little bit, but the final four has been set with Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, William Byron, and Kyle Larson will fight for a championship. The only one that is looking for a repeat championship is the five of Kyle Larson. So it'll be interesting to see if we get a first-time champion this year. Um, but before we go into Phoenix, I want to ask you about a couple of other things that we saw at Martinsville this weekend. Of course, the main thing is the just travesty of Suarez versus Hocevar, or whatever you want to call that. It, it's just a bad look, right? Especially considering they'll be teammates next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's Hocevar had a rough race at Martinsville. How many cautions was he involved in? Four?
Five, maybe.
Probably four or five. And just, yeah, it was kind of a debacle. And then he and McDowell clashed at one point. It was actually the last caution of the race. McDowell went up and slammed into the back of
That one was
Hocevar
on
and
McDowell, but
sent
yeah.
him spinning. So, yeah, it was kind of a disaster race for Hocevar. And I actually felt bad because when that last caution came out and I saw him spinning, I was like, dude, this guy's unbelievable. But then you see the replay and you saw that it wasn't his fault. But that's kind of been the theme of Hocevar's season. He has the speed, but he just can't stay out of trouble. A lot of it is youth and aggression. Once he starts to clean that up, I think he's going to be really good. I think next year is the year that we see him break through and win a race and be a playoff contender. But this year he showed those flashes of brilliance, just wasn't able to put it together.
Keep your eye on Bristol. That's a good track for him. If he's going to win next year, that's a track that he can very much win. But yeah, I don't know. The whole thing, I think it's just a bad start. I don't think it's going to be a thing of a big thing going into the future. I think it's just happened to be tempers flaring. It's the end of the season. Everyone's mad at everyone because their season didn't go the way, especially for Daniel Suarez when you think about those types of drivers. Season just did not go the way it needed to or he wanted it to. So completely understand the frustration. Obviously was not acceptable driving from either of them, by the way. Neither of them are off the hook on that. But um, overall, understandable frustrations from both parties there. Couple of other things I noticed. Ryan Preece was really fast again. I think we both mentioned it. Really good here at Martinsville. Shows up again, ran really fast. Didn't have the pace of the front two or three, but he was still very quick. There was another driver who I am definitely blanking out on. Josh Berry was very fast. I mentioned him.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs had good
Gibbs was
pace.
fast. Gibbs was fast. Yeah. So there was some diversity in the top 10 there. It wasn't just a bunch of
Shane
runoff
Van
drivers.
Gisbergen, can we shout out
SVG,
him again?
he continues to do it. I'm
It's
telling
it's
you,
getting
next year
it's
is
getting a
scary.
little
Yeah,
scary.
next year is
I'm
a little
not gonna
scary.
lie.
It's bad. Next year is going to be a little
This
bit.
he should not be this good at the ovals already. Like he might light up the world next year. We could be. Everyone is in danger right now.
Gives me an idea of to do in the off season, but we'll get to that. Yeah, so SVG was fast. It's good to see him run well. I think that I believe the one was fast at points in that race. I don't remember where he finished, but
Yeah, I
um,
think he got third. He really benefited from that pit cycle yellow because he stayed out when that caution came out, or he was still on the racetrack. So he
he
ended
was
up
up
getting
front
a
at the
big
end there. Yeah, he was
yeah, he
fast.
got a big
So
benefit from that.
he actually almost passed Blaney for second. He was really flying in the last latter stage of that race, but
Yeah,
um, that'll do that. Oh, obviously, oh, I almost forgot to mention this here. Um, two engine failures and three engine issues for what it's worth from Toyota, and two of them are JGR cars. Um, Are you concerned as we head to Phoenix, or do you think that that was just them testing out something and they were trying to see if they could get it to work?
yeah, I'm not too concerned, honestly. I don't think that especially not the 11 crew who's had now 2 extra weeks of preparation. The 19 has had 1 extra week of preparation. I don't think those teams are going to go into Phoenix and have to worry about mechanical issues, not only because of their unlikeliness, even though it has happened to them more than anyone else, it's unlikely and they're putting all their eggs into one basket at Martinsville. You know what I mean? They're not gonna have a failure there. And I do think they were testing some things out at Martinsville. You know, especially for the 11 of Hamlin, they've had a lot of reliability concerns this year. So I think they went into Martinsville probably testing some things out, and it didn't quite work out. And he didn't sound very worried either in his post race interview. I don't know if you saw it, but
I
he
didn't
was
get to
like,
see his interview,
he
but
was just like, yeah, it's whatever. They asked him, "Are you worried?" He's like, "Yeah, whatever. If it happens, it happens. We're doing our job. There's not much we can do about it." So, to me, I feel like it's a situation that he's really not worried about right now. Like if it happens, but it's unlikely.
so it's just a different demeanor from him is good to see that he, again, things like that would kind of bother him, stick in the back of his head, just said it, said his piece, moved on with it. Nothing to dwell on there, which is good to see out of Denny, especially if you're a fan of him. I know you're not, but for those fans of him, it's a good thing to see when you're trying to get him to win a championship. But you know what? Let's stop kind of beating around the bush. Let's go and move to the championship topic here, right? Um, Phoenix comes up this weekend. I want to actually, real quickly, I want to give some love to the lower series on this. I'm not going to go in too depth, but I want to ask you. If you don't know the Final Fours, I will remind you here. But we'll start with the Truck Series. As of us recording and airing this, this will be tonight actually. So we'll get to see tonight, tomorrow, whatever the context is. We'll get to see who wins this championship. But truck-wise, it is Corey Heim in the 11, Caden Honeycutt in the 52. It is, oh my goodness, I'm blanking. Tyler Ankrum in the 18, and it is, is it the 18? Is it the 18 or 81? I think it's the 18. I'm not. I think it's the
It's
18.
by the 18.
Probably the
I'm not,
18.
as you know, I'm not. I don't watch the
Yeah,
trucks a
yeah, yeah,
lot.
yeah. I
So
mean, fair enough. Oh, and excuse me. Uh, uh, goodness, I can't believe I'm blanking out on the other person. Ty Majeski. Wow,
oh yeah, that's
Ty
right.
Majeski in the 98. Okay, so those four. You don't have to give me too in depth of a reason, but give me your championship
I mean, Corey Heim is. If Corey Heim doesn't win this
pick.
championship, it will kind of be disgusting. Now, I don't watch the Truck Series all the time, so I'm probably not giving Caden Honeycutt his flowers. But to me, I don't think he's anywhere close to the talent level of Corey Heim. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I don't watch the trucks on a week to week basis. But Caden
I
Honeycutt?
feel this is just like unnecessary slander towards this one
No,
driver.
no,
There's
no, no,
two other
no
drivers in this Final
disrespect.
Four.
No disrespect. And then like Tyler Ankrum and Ty Majeski, they've just been in the lower leagues for a long time. I don't think they have too much of a cup future. Majeski won the title last year, so maybe he's building something. But no disrespect to the other three. I just think Corey Heim is on another level.
Yeah. All right. There's no way. Excuse me. There's no way he loses this championship for seemingly a third year in a row. You can blame Carson Hocevar a couple of years ago for taking him out at Phoenix. You can blame them just not having the pace of Ty Majeski last year. I don't
Yeah.
think they faltered for that a third time.
Yeah, Ty
There's
Majeski had an illegal truck last year. I don't think they
the,
can get down about that.
Thor Sport had to get some. Had to get some.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Thor Sport has not won all year. I'm just saying, going into this race, Thor Sport's not won a single race all year.
Yeah, I'm sure Matt Crafton will probably
Ooh,
go into Phoenix
it's
and
funny.
deliver it.
His retirement race too. He's not racing next year,
Oh,
so
he's
yeah, he's
retiring?
retiring. He's not racing next year,
Wow.
so
I
retirement
didn't
race for
know
Matt
that.
Crafton. He might be racing part time starts. I don't know that for sure, but I think
He'll
he's
be
he's
racing part time for like 8 more years, I
yeah, but
bet.
he's retiring from full time racing. That was confirmed. So maybe, but no, I'm not putting my eggs in that basket. Give me Corey Heim. Corey Heim will take the championship in the Truck Series. I mean, he's had like an 11 win season. I would be shocked if we get a different result. Speaking of credible win seasons, we go to the Xfinity Series. Your final four here. I think you know these drivers a little bit better. We got Connor Zilisch in the 88. We've got the 7 of Justin Allgaier. We got the 2 of Jesse Love and the 1 of Carson Kvapil. Zilisch going Cup racing next year. Allgaier, obviously the Xfinity lifer here. Jesse Love, maybe a year away from the Cup Series. Carson Kvapil in a similar boat. Kvapil has not won all year. Keep that in mind. Love has not won since Daytona. Allgaier and Zilisch have been by far the best two. Give me your pick. Who is winning the championship in the Xfinity Series?
That is a really good Final Four. You have 3 of the best upcoming prospects, and then the modern day Elliott Sadler of Justin Allgaier.
That's offensive to Justin Allgaier.
It's not. Elliott Sadler was fantastic.
Elliott Sadler also didn't win a championship, and he was competing against 20-year-olds when he was 40.
Yeah, but he was also competing against Kyle Busch every week because he raced mostly before the
whatever. I could have a whole 20-minute debate on Elliott Sadler.
I love Elliott Sadler, but so I actually think that if you take out Justin Allgaier and switch him with Sam Mayer, you have the 4 most talented Xfinity drivers and the 4 most highly touted prospects. Who do you think would fit better?
A more talented driver?
Yeah, I think those are the 4 most talented prospects in Xfinity.
Okay,
if you switch out Allgaier for Mayer.
I have a moment. I can debate this. So let's think. Zilisch is number 1. If I was to, I mean, he's far and shoulders ahead. Then it gets tighter. I think Mayer would probably be there. I think Love would probably be there. Kvapil, I question. He's there. He's like in the debate. I don't know if I'd pick him. Just to throw names out there so you know who I'm thinking. There's Creed. There's Eckes. There's Hill. Technically, if you want to count him as a prospect, he's like 30. But I don't know. There's a couple guys I could throw in that list. It's a video I want to cover this offseason. We will have a prospect meter. I do want to do that. But overall, I think Carson Kvapil was in that debate. Overall, it's a very talented final four here of these drivers between them. But ultimately, only one can take the championship. So I gotta again ask you, who's it gonna be?
So, normally I would say Connor Zilisch, right?
Oh no!
But look,
oh no!
Xfinity has a knack for some crazy championship races. I have a feeling this can be one of those races where it comes down to the end and he gets out strategized or gets hit or something. I have a feeling something is going to happen. Give me Jesse Love to win the championship this weekend.
I hate to do this to you, but it's when something's so obvious you want to pick against it, but that feels too obvious for it to be picked against. Like almost where it's like a counterintuitive, right? It's like if something's obvious, right? So like you're going to school for your senior prom and you're going to see people and all these girls in their dresses, right? It's obvious. And then someone's like, "Oh, someone's going to show up in jeans." And it feels obvious cuz like there's going to be that one person, but like in the same sentence you're like that's not going to happen, right? You kind of get what I'm
What is this analogy?
But do you get what I'm saying? Do you understand the theory here?
Yes, sure. I think.
Okay. So my point being, it feels so obvious that he's going to win it that people are saying he won't, that he's just going to end up doing it anyway. So give me Connor Zilisch to win the championship. I refuse to see a world. He's not losing it to Allgaier. I don't think Allgaier is going back to back. I don't think Carson Kvapil's winning it. So if it was going to be anybody else, I would take Jesse Love just because he's the only RCR car, the only non-JRM car. So, I mean, that would make sense, but I'm going to go Connor Zilisch here. I think the two dominant Xfinity and truck drivers, the Xfinity and truck drivers who were dominant all year will win those championships. But let's get to the bread and butter of this, right? Let's move up to the Cup Series where we have been the past 2 months. I have a graphic I want to throw up here. We're going to throw up some stats. I want to give you this information before we predict who wins this championship. So, entering this weekend at Phoenix, we are going into this with the 4 drivers of Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, and Kyle Larson. On wins this year, Denny Hamlin leads the series at 6. Leads this Final Four. Chase Briscoe has the most of the Final Four in top 5s at 15. The most top 10s, though, goes to Kyle Larson at 21, which is quite impressive in the next gen era. The best average finish so far this season has been Chase Briscoe, at least of these Final Four. He has 12.5. A 9.1 in the playoffs, which is also leading these playoff drivers here, these Final Four. The best playoff average finish, and then the best finish at Phoenix is the same for all 4 of them. They've all won at Phoenix, and have all done it in the next gen. I believe, if I'm correct. I think Larson's won it in the next gen. If not, he won it in 2021 anyway. So
Larson has not, but yeah,
Larson is
that
not. Okay, so then
he
yeah.
did win a championship there, so that
Otherwise,
counts.
whatever, same thing. So we know the stakes, we know the stats. We've talked about these four drivers all season. We've obviously been going through the narrative. Do you want to do process of elimination here, or do you want to just straight up give me your champion?
I'm gonna begin with a little bit of process elimination. Um, First off, the fourth place guy that I'm gonna have, um, I am gonna have the five of Kyle Larson. He's the only champion of these four. He's the most accomplished, you could say, by that logic. Even though Hamlin has,
Double his
what would you
wins.
say, triple, double
Not
the
double his
wins
wins.
of Kyle Larson. But to me, I feel like Kyle Larson is the most accomplished and definitely the most talented of these four drivers. But something has never clicked for them at Phoenix in this championship race. It never has. Even the year they won the championship, they won it off of a really good pit stop. They didn't win by pace. They had the fourth best car. Let's be real.
They were.
And then they got that. Remember on that restart, they got that damage that flared the quarter panel in, gave them an insane side force on the right side. So they got really lucky. Now they had a dominant year, so they deserve that kind of luck in the finale. But you look at the pure pace of that Phoenix car, it was not there. 2023, they made the Final Four. Again, the pace was not there. They were not on the level of Blaney or his teammate Byron. So something's just missing with the five of Larson at Phoenix. That combination is not there right now. So I think they're going to come fourth place out of the championship for this weekend.
I'm gonna take fourth to be Chase Briscoe because, and I keep doubting him. And you know what? Maybe he'll prove me wrong again. But I feel like if there's a time I could doubt him and it not be criticized, I feel like this is a very valid race to do that. Has nothing to do with the talent of Chase Briscoe. I think he's had an incredible year. He's proved me wrong. He's proved a lot of people wrong who were doubting him. But ultimately, when we get to Phoenix, you get to the championship race, um, experience matters. I mean, there are very few times that somebody gets to the finale in their first championship race and wins it. I'm excluding 2014. I think the only people who have done it in recent memory are Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott. So, um, yeah, it's not a common thing. And no offense to Chase Briscoe, I don't quite think he's on the level of those two drivers. So with that being said, fourth, but that's not from a lack of talent. I just think that's just kind of how he's going to run at Phoenix.
Okay.
I'll go third too, so that we can spice this up. My third place finisher. I guess I'm guessing here. This is going to be, I guess, but William Byron. Uh, I want
Oh
to
my
put
gosh. Wow.
I want to put him higher, but I don't know, man. Everyone likes to you like to think that the dominant drivers usually when they win in the lower series that the cup guy does it too. I don't have that feeling. I just something tells me that something's wrong with the 24. And I know he just won, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, he just won, and he was super fast. Why would something be wrong?" I have not seen in both of the years they went there into the final four. They were fast early, and they never adapted. They never did. They fell off with the track. They just simply could not do it. I would not be shocked if Byron starts the race on pole or in second place and runs up front for the first 90, 100 laps and then slowly starts to fade through the field. That wouldn't shock me. I don't think he'll fade that hard, but historically it proves that he'll do that. So I'm going to trust history on this one. I'm going to go third place for William Byron.
All right. So for me, I think third place is going to be Chase Briscoe. I don't think he's on the level of these other three drivers, at least not yet. To me, if I were to make a comparison to this, I would compare it to Logano's 2014 Final Four or Truex's 2015 Final Four. A Final Four where it's the kind of their first go at being a title contender. It'll be a learning experience. They'll show flashes of speed, but ultimately the inexperience is going to get them at the end. So I see it being that kind of race for the 19 team. I think he is set up for a very bright future. He's one of the most underrated prospects in NASCAR. I think we can agree on that.
I don't know if he's a prospect anymore, but I get what you're meaning.
But you know what I mean. When he was a prospect, he did not get the credit he deserved because he got stuck in SHR. He should have been a very highly touted prospect with how good he was in Xfinity. So he has a very bright future ahead of him. I'm excited to see what he does. I just don't think this is his year to win the championship.
So that leaves us both with our top two. You, it's Hamlin and Byron. For me, it is Hamlin and Larson. Okay. Do you want me to go first, or you want to go first here?
How about you go first?
You want me to go first? All right. You know, it comes a time where everybody has given up, right? Everyone, they throw the towel in. They they think that things are set to be the way they're going to be just because they've continued to happen the same way. But you know what the number one thing that those people get proven wrong with is? Perseverance. You want to know what the one thing that this driver that winning the championship has more than maybe any other driver in Cup Series history is? Perseverance. I have not seen a driver lose as many championships as Denny Hamlin and just continue to go at it. Continue, continue, continue. We saw Mark Martin have so many years where he could have won it. He kind of just, it felt like he gave up at one point, right? Um, Even Carl Edwards, he retired early. Obviously his reason was safety issues, and there's other stuff that were going involved and whatnot. But in a way, he stopped chasing it. That was his dream, right? He stopped. Denny Hamlin, at 45 years old and driving arguably the best of his career, is in a situation where it's not guaranteed, but it might be the last time he gets a real shot at the championship, and I think he will not fail again to capitalize on it. I'm picking the 11. It is his year. He'll beat Kyle Larson poetically, because of course he will, and he will take home the championship.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Before I get into my picks, I do want to talk about the Denny Hamlin pick a little bit, or at least it was a beautiful monologue. I have to give you a round of applause, but I highly disagree with the premise of it, of perseverance. The vibe I get from Denny Hamlin is um, kind of backpedaling a little bit. When he started to lose his championships, he switched to a mindset of it's all about wins for me. Wins are what's important. Daytona 500s are what's important. Championships are not important. He's said this multiple times in multiple interviews. And to me, the vibe I get is I need to make up an excuse. I no longer care about championships. I care about wins. So to me, I don't get perseverance vibes from him. I get not giving up necessarily, but just a change of demeanor where either he doesn't care about championships or he doesn't want people to think he cares about championships, because he has said multiple times it's about wins for him. Getting to 60 was such a huge accomplishment. So I don't know if I necessarily agree, but now getting into my picks. Do I have a beautiful monologue prepped up and ready to go?
Mine was not prepared. Mine was not prepared. I
Yours
should
was
say
no,
that was
yours
off
was
top
no.
of my
I
head.
can tell that was that was straight off the cuff right there. So William Byron has been the best driver throughout the season, right? He had a career drive at Martinsville. It was the best drive of his career, I think we could say. Dominated the early parts of the race, and then when the strategy goes wrong and he has to make up the spots, he did it. He did what had to be done. Got the lead, got the win, got into the Final Four in a must-win situation after 2 awful weeks of bad luck. And then on the other side is Denny Hamlin. Um, and he has never won a championship. This would be a huge moment for so many fans. So many fans in NASCAR would love to see Denny Hamlin win the championship. I'm not one of them, but I would admit it would be a cool moment. But in terms of who I do have winning this championship,
You got me shaking a little bit.
oftentimes the best driver in the regular season has not come out on top in this playoff era. But I think this year, William Byron has what it takes to pick up this championship. And I see William Byron holding off Denny Hamlin at the end to pick up his first Cup Series championship.
Would you argue, if William Byron wins this championship, that he has the most complete resume of somebody in NASCAR right now? Top to bottom.
No, I would not.
Top
No,
to
I
bottom.
would not make that
I
argument.
only ask because championship, and when he was the best driver, well, arguably the best driver all season. 2 Daytona 500s, which the champions of our younger generation do not have, that puts him in a very, very small breath of air gap of people, if you will. So, worth a question. Definitely discuss it next
He
week.
would be third, I think.
Would be third.
Yeah, Bush and Logano have better resumes,
Oh,
but I would have
oh,
him
oh!
third.
I wasn't. I meant like of the younger group of people. I'm sorry. I
Oh
should have
yeah. Of
clarified.
the younger guys, I think it's more complete than Elliott's and Blaney's, and uh,
Larson's would be interesting.
Larson is
That's a
not one of 500, so yeah, it would be more complete than Larson's as well. So yeah, I do agree with that.
it's interesting. Yeah, Logano and Bush are like leagues ahead of everybody else when it
Yeah,
comes to that. But
but yeah, it's an interesting. Byron has accomplished so much at such a young age, and in terms of talents, now obviously in the off season we're going to talk about driver talent, so I'm going to give away a little bit of what I have to say. I believe that in terms of talent, Byron is pretty underrated, and I'm starting to think he might be more talented than Chase Elliott. It's certainly a close debate, and the more that the years go on, and the more Final Fours that Byron makes and Elliott misses, the more I start to wonder if if that is a true fact that William Byron is more talented than Chase Elliott. It's certainly, I think, a debate now.
I'm not going to agree or disagree yet. But I will say for the people to fuel the fire, they do now have the same amount of Final Fours.
Yeah,
So
that's big.
worth
That's
noting.
big.
Worth noting. But we've given our championship picks. I got Hamlin. He's got Byron. Maybe it's Larson. It'd shock both of us if it was Briscoe, but
Yeah.
we're I don't we'll see. We'll see. Somebody has to take the championship in 2025. It'll be one of those four drivers. One last thing worth noting on the NASCAR side of things before we kind of switch gears here. You know what's an interesting fact about this?
What?
Besides Kyle Larson, right? Because he obviously just won the championship. Do you know what the most recent championship of any of these three numbers was?
What the what? I missed.
The most recent championship for any of these three other car numbers was besides the five.
Let me think. Let me think. Let me try to bang this. Not the 11. Not the 19. It would be the Jeff Gordon in 2001, wouldn't it?
24 years later in the 24 for William
Wow,
Byron. Just
that would be sick.
that
That would be
just
sick.
worth noting, and that was after Gordon won his fourth, by the way, for worth noting. Just an extra four in there. Um, uh,
Scorigami.
yeah, the score got whatever. Um,
We're
so
just
yeah,
saying stuff now.
yeah, we're just filling. I mean, no, but that was a real thing. That was a real
That is
stat.
a good. That's a good fact.
Pulled that out of thin air. Oh, and also let's stick to our premise of drivers who they have to win a race in the playoffs to be able to win the championship theoretically. Larson didn't, meaning
Yeah.
we could rule him out
Everyone else
in
can.
theory. So there you go. Um,
Not Larson.
no, not Kyle Larson. By the logic here.
Yeah.
Um, anyway,
It is a Kyle though, and
it's a
Kyle Busch is the only
yeah.
other
Kyle
driver.
Busch
So
is the only. You know what?
maybe it's
Maybe,
not a
sure,
Kyle Busch
sure.
thing. Maybe it's just a Kyle thing. Who knows?
We'll feed into the delusion for Kyle
The
Larson fans.
Kyle Benjamin championship without winning a race in the playoffs.
He's someone I want to talk about in the future. I love Kyle
Oh, okay.
Benjamin. He's someone I want
Let's
to talk about.
go.
Anyway, let's move over to the F1 side of things. You know what? I, I have to ask you a question before we kind of actually talk about the race itself. Are you an Ollie Behrman fan?
I
Do you
like Ollie
support?
Behrman. I don't think he's been the best rookie this year, but I think he's been a close second to Hadjar. But with races like Mexico, he may be the best. Who knows?
I was gonna ask you because I don't know. I don't know about you, but the way Ollie Behrman talks in his interviews is a very humble driver that somebody you would want to root for. You'd think, right? You know what he said after the race?
So what
He
did he
looked
say?
he looked next to him when he saw Max, and he almost pooped himself for proper grammar.
What?
It's basically what he said. He's like stunned that he was racing with Verstappen. So how can you not root for a driver like that who's just like humble to be racing at the front of the field? That's just all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, let's talk about the race itself now. It was a Lando Norris. I don't want to say masterclass. There's a lot that happened behind him, but he did his job. He did do his job. He led every lap? Question mark. Right.
There could have been a pit sequence that he lost it, but he led every competitive lap of the race. He was in front of everyone else on the same strategy as him.
So Lando takes the W in Mexico with now 4 races left, and not only does he take the win, he takes the championship lead back for the first time since
Yes.
probably
A long time. A long
April or
time.
May. Probably
This is the first I don't know what it is, but this is the first championship lead change we've had in the last 5 races since, take a guess.
2012.
Yes, 2012. It has been a long time since we've seen a change this late. Not even 2021 delivered it. So we're seeing a pretty good championship fight right now, and I think we need to slow down and kind of acknowledge it and embrace it, because it may be a while until we get a fight like this again. I mean, when Hamilton and Vettel were fighting, who would have thought that we would get like 3 years of Hamilton dominance after that, Who would have thought that? So we have to embrace this title battle while we still have it.
So, it's worth mentioning. So Norris takes the lead, but he's only got it by a point. So he doesn't have any room to play with. He literally has to finish in front of Piastri the next handful of races to be in the championship lead, because I believe Piastri has the tiebreaker or whatever it is. I might be wrong on that, but I think so.
Not sure, but Norris does have the lead, so
yes. And then
he does have
Verstappen.
like a 1-point buffer at least.
Here's the key thing, though. While technically Norris did finish ahead of Verstappen, of course, Verstappen still closes the championship gap up. It was 40. I believe now it's 36. I might be wrong on that number, but
yeah, it's
about
36.
mid-30. Okay, 36. So small gap, continuing to get smaller. I'm telling you, that's not a dog you want in this fight. It's just not. I'm telling you, but we'll get to that in a moment. Overall, what did you think of Mexico? Did you enjoy watching a Norris win followed by a Leclerc and Verstappen podium?
I mean, it was a kind of whatever race. The race kind of got predictable after the shenanigans at the start. The start was very entertaining. We saw Hamilton battle, we saw Verstappen battle, we saw Behrman get up to fourth and kind of maintain that good position.
He was third at one point, I think, actually.
Maybe, but I remember he got up to fourth, and I was like, oh my gosh, Behrman, okay. Maybe a podium's on for today, but unfortunately, he wasn't quite able to hold off Verstappen. Piastri still looks like he's racing with 7 gears. I don't know what's happening with him. It's just not. The speed is just off right now. He needs to find something. This is not what I expected. I did not expect him to crumble like this, and that's what he's done for really the 3rd weekend in a row. And then we did see a little bit of shenanigans between Verstappen and Lewis again. It's like it never goes away. It doesn't matter.
They're always near.
If one's in title contention and one isn't, it doesn't matter. They're always clashing. And at Mexico, we saw them go side by side into the corner. Hamilton went for an aggressive move, locked up, took the runoff, and he was behind Verstappen going into the apex, but he never gave the place back. So he received a penalty, a controversial one. A lot of people disagreed with it, but even me as a Lewis fan and a Max, not hater, but I don't enjoy Max for the way Verstappen races. Even I could admit Max didn't do anything wrong. Hamilton deserved the penalty. He clearly, locked up, went wide, and he should have given the place back to Max. So that is 100% on Lewis. Sort of I don't know if it's a mental mistake from him. Maybe he thought he was ahead and someone on the team should have informed him, hey, you should give the place back to Max. You were behind going into the apex. They didn't. Lewis gets a 10-second time penalty, and that derails his podium chances. So a disappointing weekend for him. It really looked like with the pace Ferrari had that it was going to be his best shot at a podium. Now, it's looking like he may go without a podium all year, which would be very disappointing to say the least. But Max gets 3rd, Leclerc gets 2nd, Norris wins, and Norris, of course, takes the championship lead.
Yeah, it was a very interesting weekend. As someone, I'm not even like a Lewis or Max fan or hater. I don't really care for either of them in that regard. Being completely neutral, yeah, I would say that Lewis is at fault for that incident. I don't think he obviously meant to take the position and take advantage, obviously. I don't think that was ever the intention there, but the FIA made the right choice in that instance. I don't think that there's really much of a debate, honestly, when you take into consideration the full context of that incident. But
yeah,
to mention,
it's just frustrated Ferrari fans just stay in their mind. That's what it is, and
no,
you have to
and
feel
completely valid. It's been a rough
year. Yeah.
They were supposed to be the team that could take it to McLaren this year, and they were nowhere close. They were not close at all this year. I want to mention the Piastri thing too. I saw a report, or rumor, I should say. This is just F1 media, so I'm spewing. I don't know. Maybe I'm spewing garbage to the public here. I saw something saying that he was racing with a broken chassis. He said something's still not right with the car. That's what he said himself. He said he doesn't understand what's going on, but from what I was hearing, it might be a broken chassis, which that would very much imply why he's running
Yeah.
fifth. I'm not 100% sure that's true. Do not take my word for it. I'm not the person. I'm not in Europe. I am not the person to be confirming this, but it is worth mentioning that that is a possibility. Otherwise, I'm not entirely sure what the problem is. I don't think a collapse this bad was in the cards for Piastri. I could see if he was running it like third or fourth this weekend, but that wasn't the case. He was even far from Verstappen. So I don't know. I'm a little flabbergasted, to be honest with you. I'm a little stunned at the fact that I told you it would be possible to have the mental collapse. I didn't think it'd be like this. This was not in my um,
Yeah.
predictions, if you will.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
not really buying the chassis story just because I don't think that's something that could slip through the cracks in a Formula One team. You never see like week to week damage on a chassis. So
theoretically, the only thing you could think of is if you're a McLaren fan, you could be like, well, they're rigging it for Norris or they're whatever, right?
maybe
I
he
mean, there.
damaged his chassis in practice
I
or
mean,
something. I don't know.
media has been going back and forth all year about if Norris or Piastri is favored by the team and this, and that, and another, right? So that wouldn't be like an uncharacteristic story. I'm not saying they're going one way or another, but it is worth keeping that in mind that that has been talked about um, to its fullest extent all year. I am trying desperately right now to find the results from. There it is. I was trying to find the results so I could give you my feedback from the rest of the points finishers this past weekend. Let's see how many I got right. All right, and I said I wouldn't do any half points, so I won't take it from the team. I don't remember. So correct me if I'm wrong on any of the predictions I have here. Um, Obviously, I had all three of the podium finishers scoring, so three there. Uh, I did not have Antonelli scoring, so shame on me. Funny enough, George Russell got seventh. I think I placed him in sixth. I'm not
I
entirely
think it's
sure, but
somewhere around there.
he scored, so I'll take the credit there. He did get a point. Or he got some points. Piastri scored, of course. I don't think I had Behrman scoring. I'm not positive on that.
You might have had him in ninth or 10th. You had one of the Haas's there.
Okay. If I picked a Haas, I definitely didn't pick Ocon, so I would have picked Behrman then. So then, all right. So didn't think he'd be fourth.
We'll have to fact check you.
we'll
I
have to
don't know if
fact.
you.
We'll have to fact check off the dome. We're gonna give that a point though.
It doesn't. We're not. There's no points for this anyway.
Yeah, it's a fake point. It's a cookie. He
Yeah,
owes me a cookie actually.
I did.
Yeah,
See that.
he's technically repaying me the $100 I lost from that Bubba Walls bet.
What?
No, that I lost from that Bubba
I'm
Walls
not
bet.
doing that.
But yeah, Lewis, he still scored points. He got eighth. I had him scoring anyway. Alcon did score. I didn't think that would happen. So, either way, I got a point for one of the Haas's. And then I don't think I had Bortoletto scoring this week, but he got a point of his own. Okay, Mexico's done with. Do you have any other final thoughts from that race before we kind of? It's a
No, that's it for me.
pretty straightforward race here.
Yeah, I think at this point, if I were to pick a champion, I'm starting to lean Norris again. I've been side Piastri all year, but I've been kind of getting closer and closer to 50-50. Now I'm thinking like 55% Norris, 45% Piastri. That's kind of my percentages right now.
0% Max Verstappen. You're gonna
Zero
continue
percent
that
Max
one?
Verstappen. I actually thought there was a chance after the U.S., but he needed to have a good race at Mexico. That's historically a good track for Red Bull, and they didn't have the pace. So I'm kind of back to out on Max Verstappen.
We'll
Maybe a
see.
1% chance, but very low at this point.
36
He
points
needed
is
to have a good
doable.
race there.
36 is doable though, and he's got 4 races to do it. Obviously, there's no race coming out this weekend, so we won't preview Brazil or give any predictions yet. But that is a historically good track for Max. So he beat actually both of the McLarens last year there in an inferior car. Keep in mind. But yeah, so there's Brazil, Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi, of course, to end out the year. So we'll get to that in the coming weeks. But you know what? We got a little extra time here. I want to ask you. I want to ask you a different type of question. Do you support the charter system personally? Are
I
you
mean,
a charter? Are you against charters, or do you just kind of like have no feeling towards it?
I don't have much feeling towards it because I'm not the one that has money on the line for these kinds of things. I've always thought that we should just, you show up to the race and you let them race. You have a qualifying where you don't have to pay an insane amount of money to be guaranteed in the race. There's actually competitive qualifying. Now, I think you could have, say the top 30 in points are guaranteed in the race, something like that. But, I'm not a huge fan of, because what we have with the charter system is we have a smaller field. We used to have 40 cars, 43 cars show up. Now we're lucky if we get 36, 37.
I mean, my critique with the charters is it's not about the field size. I mean, to be honest, I think I think it is, but it isn't. It's not about the number. It's about the fact that it's harder to be a team owner with the charters, I feel like. I
That's
feel
kind of what I'm saying. We
like
have less competitive teams now because
like
there not as many can actually come to the races, get a
well,
charter.
not even that. Just nobody can get a car because it costs so much to make a car with the next
That's what
gen
I'm
car.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
So like the fact that Spire has been able to kind of pick up the way they have been is actually quite impressive. I know they're not obviously running as well as they maybe want to, but by far it's a bigger feat than anybody thought for them, considering where they started right before the next gen car. So, all things considered, they're doing good stuff. But yeah, I don't know. The next gen has lost its parity, and you kind of would think, oh well, it's just the car, which it is. But then you have to look at the charters too, because we can't get any new teams, right? Nobody wants to buy. What is it? It's 48 million for a car. About we're just guesstimating here. It's somewhere in that 40 to 50 million for a car. And then you have to buy a charter, which is another god. I don't even know how much money. You're spending so much. I think the debate, and we've had this debate for years, right? This is before the next gen. This was mid Gen 6. This was like 2017, 2018 level debates. About the fact that people paying for these entries, right? You got to think about this. Sponsors are not covering enough because there's not as much sponsorship as there was back in the day. Because NASCAR is less marketable right now than it was 20 years ago. Let's face it. So because of that, there's not enough sponsors paying for these teams, and the teams can't pay the drivers. So when you have drivers, I want to go to Kyle Benjamin for a second. I was purposely saving him for this debate, actually. Teams like Joe Gibbs, who are very, by the way, Joe Gibbs, of anybody in NASCAR, is very wealthy. Should say. I mean, he coached, obviously, at the time, Redskins. Sorry, am I going to get canceled for calling them that? Or
Yeah, you
can't say that.
It's fine.
But yeah, he coached for them at the time. Made a boatload of money. So of course, like there were people with money in NASCAR. Like, by no means are they broke. But what I'm saying is, sponsors are supposed to cover some of the load. When you're asking teams to cover it all, that makes it harder for them to find drivers. So when people who are haters of Riley Herbst, for example, I'm not a Riley Herbst fan. You're not a Riley Herbst fan. Neither of us are technically thinking he should be in the Cup Series right now. I think we can both agree on that. But he brings the money that a team like, especially 2311, would need, who is in a lawsuit right now. So this is the sponsorship art for like people who don't kind of understand the sponsorship. Like for years when I was younger, I didn't understand. It's like, why do they really need sponsors? Like I know they bring money, but like NASCAR teams are real wealthy, right? No, not wealthy enough for what we're making them pay. Is kind of the idea I was going with here. I just wanted to ask you, do you? I don't want to get too much into the lawsuit debate of it because obviously there's a lot more that we don't know than we do know. But I wanted to ask you, are you for or against the fact that we're having a lawsuit for it?
I don't know. I don't. I've never had too much of a strong opinion on the lawsuit. Um, Honestly, I just think it's just I don't like that kind of stuff when it comes to racing. I don't like
It's just so political.
yeah, I don't like that kind of stuff. So for me, I like to just kind of stay away from it. And when we get updates here and there, I'll listen in. But it's something you don't want to hear. It's
It's
not racing, and
it's not. No.
but
It's
it's a necessary thing. It's just not something that we like to hear about. It's not pretty or anything. You got to take the rose-colored glasses off for that one. But when we've heard Dale Jr. talk about it in the past, how if chargers weren't so expensive, he would have moved up to the Cup Series already. So I think the fact that he cannot afford a charter,
and
that tells you all you
it's
need
Dale
to know.
Jr. by the way. We're not talking about like Kevin
They have an
Conway.
Xfinity team.
Yeah,
They
like
have an Xfinity team that's just ready to go with the best Xfinity team, and they can't even move up to Cup. It's crazy.
it's insane. And plus the whole grandfather rule about the whole whatever. I could go on forever about NASCAR's charter ruling and all that stuff. I'm sure it's a thrilling topic. I'm not huge into the money side of the charters. I just think it's interesting when it's a team standpoint. about the sponsorship mix in and all that stuff. I like understanding it better, but overall, again, more political than actual motorsports and on the track stuff like we usually cover. I just thought, obviously, worth mentioning. The lawsuit's been going on all year. We haven't really touched on it. Worth getting your thoughts on it. Worth getting my thoughts on it. But let's end the video on a more positive note here. Uh, did you see a funny stat that I saw on the NASCAR world?
Depends
So
on what stat it was. There are many stats out there, some good, some bad. Let me hear
so
it.
let's real quickly analyze the most winning driver over the last 3 seasons before this year. In 2022, it was Chase Elliott. He had 5 wins. In 2023, it was William Byron who had 6 wins. In 2024, it was, I believe, Kyle Larson who had 6 wins. In 2025, it is Denny Hamlin with 6 wins. You want to know what the funniest part about all of that is?
No championships.
None of them have won the championship. Do you want to know what the total number of wins the guys who won the championship have? Logano
I
had.
can get it. I can get it. Hold up. Hold up.
Oh, go for it.
Uh,
Go for it. Offer
okay,
it.
Logano got 4 in 22.
5.
Blaney got 4, so that's 8.
No, Logano had 5 in 22, and Blaney had 3. It's still 8, but like Blaney had the Talladega race, the Martinsville race, and the Coke 600, and then in 22, Logano had.
He
Oh
only
god,
had 4 in 22.
I think he had 5. I will fact check you, but I know Blaney had 3 last year. So continue your math though. I'm
Okay.
fact checking.
So 4 for Logano in 22. I know that. I guess it's 3 for Blaney in 23.
It is. It is.
Okay, so that's 7. 24 was 4 for Logano, so that's 11. So 11 over 3 years.
11 over 3 years, and you know it's interesting to me. If we take the most winning drivers over those 3 seasons previously, that's a combined 17. There's a whole like somebody who Denny Hamlin's season right now in wins separates the two in category, which is really funny to me. I it's just I'm pretty sure I think it's 12. I think I can't pull it up right now, but I think Logano had 5 that year. Whatever. Point being,
He did not. If you count the clash, he did.
maybe whatever. I don't know. He had 4 or 5. So
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is, I think it's interesting we have had all of these next gen seasons, and consistently the driver who wins the championship is not the guy who won the most races, but they're a guy who won multiple races throughout the year, which is what always catches my eye. Like, obviously, Logano had his 4 or 5, Blaney had 3, and 2 of them were in the playoffs. Logano won one of his in the playoffs. And then last year, I'm blanking again, Logano won all but one of his in the playoffs. So I don't know.
Oh, I know why I think Blaney had 4. He
You're
didn't have
thinking
4 because
he
of
didn't win Phoenix. He didn't win.
Yeah.
He
That
didn't win.
always throws me off. I always want to say he had 4, but he only had 3.
Still the only driver in this format to not win the race and the championship.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ross Chastain. Thank you,
Ross Chastain, the stat breaker.
It's just being
Rule
that guy.
breaker, stat breaker, watermelon breaker, Denny Hamlin breaker. Like the list goes on.
All right. Well, that's about all I got. Unless you got anything else.
That's it for me.
So, with that being said, we'll be back next week to cover what happened in Phoenix. We'll review how the championship went. We get to see the 2025 champion. It'll be over halfway through this decade officially on championships now. We're at the halfway, gonna be over, which is scary. Formula One, we'll go to Brazil preview next week. We get to discuss in more depth about what might happen there, how the title fight could close up or space out even more. And we'll be back to the food scenery behind me next week. So that'll be very exciting for our motorsports listeners specifically. With that being said, thank you guys so much for stopping by, and we'll see you guys next week on Sideline To Speedway.
Thank you guys.